My wife said, "My parents think you're a burden." And honestly, I agree. I said, "Good to know." I didn't react. But at Sunday dinner, when her father suddenly stood up, looked at her, and asked a question that turned the whole table silent, her smile vanished instantly. I'm Brady, 35, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought my marriage was going through a rough patch that we could work through. Turns out my wife had been building a case against me with her parents for months. And when I accidentally found out, I decided to let them all dig their own graves before revealing what I knew. I'd been married to Melissa for 5 years. We met in our late 20s, got married after 2 years of dating, settled into what I thought was a good life together. She worked as a senior marketing coordinator, made decent money, traveled occasionally for work. I'm a paramedic. EMT first, then advanced to paramedic, which means I don't make marketing money, but I'm not exactly broke either. We lived comfortably, had a nice house in the suburbs of Columbus, no kids yet, but we'd been talking about it. Melissa's parents, Charles and Diana Whitfield, were successful people. Charles owned a commercial real estate investment company. Diana was a retired corporate lawyer. They had money, status, and opinions about everything. From the beginning of our relationship, I could tell they thought Melissa could have done better than a paramedic. They never said it outright, but it was there in the way Charles would ask about my career trajectory, or how Diana would mention other men Melissa had dated who were doing interesting things. The thing is, I love what I do. Last month I helped deliver a baby on I-70 during rush hour traffic. 2 weeks before that, I pulled a kid out of a burning car after a 3-vehicle pileup. These aren't just jobs to me. When someone's having the worst day of their life, I'm the guy who shows up. But somehow, that never seemed to matter to the Whitfield family. All they saw was the salary. About 3 months ago, things started shifting with Melissa. She became more critical about my job, about our finances, about my lack of ambition. She'd make comments like, "Don't you want more than this?" Or, "We could have a better life if you consider other options." I tried to talk to her about it, asked what was really bothering her, but she'd just say she was stressed about work. The comments got more frequent. She'd watch me get ready for my shift and make little remarks about how her friends' husbands never had to work nights or weekends, how they could plan vacations without worrying about shift schedules, how they lived in bigger houses, drove newer cars. I started noticing she was staying late at work more often. Business dinners, client meetings, regional conferences that seemed to pop up every few weeks. When I'd ask about them, she'd get defensive, saying I wouldn't understand the pressure she was under to perform in her role. 2 weeks ago, on a Wednesday night, Melissa and I had a fight about something stupid. I'd forgotten to pick up dry cleaning. She escalated it into this bigger argument about how I was unreliable and not taking our life seriously. It ended with her saying, "My parents think you're a burden on me, and honestly, Brady, I'm starting to agree with them." I just looked at her. Good to know. That's it? That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say, Melissa? You just told me you think I'm a burden. There's not really a response to that. Maybe you could defend yourself. Maybe you could try to prove them wrong. Why would I need to prove anything? I work. I contribute to this household. I'm a good husband. If you and your parents don't see that, that's not my problem to fix. She looked frustrated that I wasn't fighting back. You're so passive. That's the whole problem. I went to bed in the guest room that night. The next morning, Melissa acted like nothing had happened. I didn't bring it up either, but something had shifted in me. When someone tells you they see you as a burden, you can't unhear it. It sits there in the back of your mind, coloring everything. That Friday, I was home early. Training day, no calls scheduled. The department had us doing scenario drills all morning, then cut us loose after lunch. I was in my home office catching up on some continuing education requirements when I heard Melissa come in. She didn't know I was there. I heard her on the phone in the kitchen, talking to her mother. "I know, Mom. I'm just so tired of it." No, he didn't even react when I told him what you and Dad said. He just accepted it. I think he knows he's not good enough, but he's too comfortable to do anything about it. Sunday dinner? Yeah, we'll be there. I think it's time we all had a frank conversation about the future. I sat there listening, feeling cold. She'd been talking to her parents about me, building a narrative, planning something for Sunday dinner. The way she said frank conversation about the future made my stomach drop. This wasn't just venting to her parents. This was orchestrated. I didn't confront her. Instead, I did something I'd never done before. I called her father. Charles answered on the second ring. "Brady, this is unexpected." "Hi, Charles. I wanted to talk to you about something. Do you have a few minutes?" "Sure. What's on your mind?" "Melissa mentioned that you and Diana have concerns about me, about whether I'm the right fit for your daughter. I wanted to hear that directly from you, rather than through her." There was a pause. "Brady, that's a conversation I think we should have in person. Why don't we talk about this at dinner on Sunday?" "That works, but Charles, I need to know, do you think I'm a burden on Melissa?" Another pause, longer this time. "I think you're a good man, Brady, but I also think Melissa deserves a partner who matches her ambition and financial capability. You're a paramedic. That's admirable, but it's not exactly a path to the kind of life Melissa was raised to expect." "I see. And you've been discussing this with Melissa. We discuss everything with our daughter. We're a close family." "Got it. Well, I'll see you Sunday then." After I hung up, I sat there for a while thinking. Charles had basically confirmed what I already knew. They thought I wasn't good enough for their daughter. But something about that conversation bothered me. The way he'd paused when I asked about being a burden, like there was more to the story. I made another call to my buddy Kevin, who worked as a private investigator. We'd gone through EMT training together years ago before he switched careers. He owed me a favor from when I'd helped him move last spring. "Brady, what's up, man?" "Kevin, I need to ask you something, and this stays between us." "Of course. What's going on?" "I think Melissa might be, I don't know, something's not right. She's been acting different, staying late at work, taking more business trips. I just need to know if I'm being paranoid or if there's something going on." "You want me to look into her activities?" "Just the basics. Credit card statements, hotel bookings, anything unusual. I feel crazy even asking." "You wouldn't be calling if your gut wasn't telling you something. Give me the details I need, and I'll see what I can find." That weekend, Melissa was busy with work stuff. She barely talked to me. Saturday morning, she was on her laptop, typing furiously. When I asked what she was working on, she snapped that it was a presentation for Monday and she needed to concentrate. Saturday afternoon, my captain called. Multi-vehicle accident on I-270. All hands needed. I grabbed my gear and headed out, spending the next 6 hours helping clear a mess involving 2 semis and 4 cars. One driver had to be airlifted to Ohio State. Another we worked on for 40 minutes before we got him stable enough to transport. When I got home, that night, exhausted and still smelling like diesel fuel and antiseptic, Melissa was already in bed. She didn't even ask how the call went. Used to be, she'd wait up, want to hear if everyone was okay. Now, she just pretended to be asleep. Saturday night, Kevin sent me a file. I opened it in my home office and felt my stomach drop. Hotel charges in cities where Melissa had work trips. Cleveland, Indianapolis, Detroit. Always 2-night stays, always nicer hotels than her company usually booked for standard business travel. Credit card charges at restaurants for 2 people, expensive places, wine that cost more than I made in a day, and a name that kept appearing on restaurant reservations and hotel records, Jason Caldwell, one of her company's regional sales directors. I spent the night going through everything Kevin had found. Jason was married, had 2 kids, lived in a suburb outside Indianapolis. His LinkedIn showed him attending the same conferences as Melissa, in the same cities, on the same dates. Hotel records showed rooms booked on consecutive floors, sometimes adjacent. The timeline matched perfectly with when Melissa had started being critical of me, 3 months ago, right when her first business trip with Jason had taken place. I felt numb, not angry, not hurt, just empty. Like something I'd been carrying for years had suddenly been taken away, and I wasn't sure what to do with the space it left behind. Sunday morning, I was calm, eerily calm. Melissa asked if I was okay. "I'm fine. You seem quiet, just thinking about work stuff." She bought it, or pretended to. We got ready for dinner at her parents' house like we had dozens of times before, but everything felt different now. I knew what was coming. I knew she planned to ambush me at her family's dinner table, make me look like the inadequate husband in front of everyone. But I also knew about Jason. We arrived at Charles and Diana's house at 5 hours p.m. The place always intimidated me a bit. Little, too clean, too expensive, like a furniture showroom. Diana greeted us at the door, wearing something that probably cost more than my monthly salary. Melissa's brother Owen was there with his wife Jessica, plus Diana's sister Margaret. The whole family gathering. Melissa seemed nervous but excited about something. She kept glancing at her parents like they were sharing some secret. Dinner started normally, small talk, catching up. Diana asking about Melissa's latest project numbers. Charles mostly quiet, watching me with this evaluating look I'd seen before. Like he was trying to figure out what his daughter saw in me. I played along, answered questions politely, didn't give anything away. Owen asked about work, and I told him about Saturday's accident, how we'd managed to save the driver who'd been trapped. Jessica seemed genuinely interested, asking questions about the rescue process. Diana changed the subject. Brady, have you given any more thought to what we discussed about career advancement? This was a regular theme. Diana's suggestions that I consider moving up in emergency services, maybe becoming a supervisor or transitioning to hospital administration. Anything to get me off an ambulance and into an office. I like what I do, Diana. I'm good at it. Of course you are, dear. But surely you want to build towards something bigger? Melissa has such potential in her career. About halfway through the main course, Melissa cleared her throat. Here it comes, I thought. So, Mom, Dad, I wanted to talk to everyone about something important. Diana smiled. Of course, honey. What is it? Melissa glanced at me, then at her parents. Brady and I have been having some conversations about our future, about what we both want and whether we're on the same page. And honestly, I think we've grown in different directions. I took a sip of water, didn't say anything. This was her show. Let her perform. Charles put down his fork. Melissa, maybe this isn't the right time. No, Dad, it's fine. We're all family here. I think everyone knows that Brady and I have been struggling. He's content with where he is in life, and I want more. I need a partner who's ambitious, who wants to build real wealth, who can give me the life I deserve. Owen's wife Jessica looked uncomfortable. Diana was nodding along. Margaret put down her wine glass. I stayed quiet. So, Melissa continued, I think it's time Brady and I seriously consider whether this marriage is working for either of us. The table went quiet. Everyone looked at me. This was my cue to either defend myself or break down. Instead, I set down my fork. Are you asking for a divorce, Melissa? She hesitated. I'm saying I think we need to discuss it as a family. My parents have been concerned for a while, and I value their input. Interesting. So your parents have been involved in our marriage decisions for how long? That's not fair. Seems fair to me. You just announced to your entire family that you want to divorce me because I'm not ambitious enough in front of me without discussing it with me first privately. Diana spoke up. Brady, honey, this isn't about attacking you. We all care about you, but we also want what's best for Melissa. And sometimes relationships run their course. Diana, I don't need relationship advice from you right now. Thanks. Owen shifted in his seat. Maybe we should... Charles stood up. The whole table went silent. He looked at Melissa, and his face was different than I'd ever seen it. Not supportive, almost angry. Melissa, I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Melissa looked confused. Dad, what? Who is Jason Caldwell? The color drained from Melissa's face. What? Who? Jason Caldwell, regional sales director at your company. You've been spending quite a bit of time with him. Hotel rooms in Cleveland, Indianapolis, Detroit. Nice restaurants. Want to explain that to everyone? Diana's head snapped. Toward Charles. What are you talking about? Melissa's mouth opened and closed. Dad, I don't know what you... Don't lie to me. Brady called me Friday. Asked me directly if I thought he was a burden on you. When I hung up, I started thinking about some things that hadn't quite added up. Your work trips lasting longer than they should. Your company credit card bills that I occasionally see since we still handle some of your financial planning. So, I made some calls, found out some interesting things. I watched this play out, stunned. Charles had done his own investigation. Jason Caldwell is married, Charles continued. Has 2 kids, and according to someone in your HR department, who I happen to know through the commercial real estate network, there have been complaints about him having inappropriate relationships with women on his team. Is that what you've been doing, Melissa? Having an affair with a married man while telling us your husband isn't good enough? The table erupted. Diana demanding to know what was happening. Owen looking shocked. Margaret reaching for more wine. Melissa trying to talk over everyone. Tears starting. Dad, it's not like that. Then what is it like? Because from where I'm sitting, you've been cheating on your husband while complaining to us that he's the problem, making us think he's holding you back when actually you've been sneaking around behind his back. Melissa looked at me, desperate. Brady, please. Charles kept going. I told you Friday that I thought Brady was a good man, but that maybe he wasn't ambitious enough for you. You know what I've been thinking about since then? That maybe the problem isn't his lack of ambition. Maybe the problem is your lack of character. Charles? Diana looked horrified. No, Diana. Our daughter just tried to publicly humiliate her husband at our dinner table. Tried to get family support for divorcing him because he's not ambitious enough. When the real reason is she's been having an affair. I won't be part of that. Melissa was full on crying now. It just happened, and I didn't mean for it to. Nothing just happens, Melissa. You made choices. You chose to have an affair. You chose to lie to your husband, to us, to yourself. And you were going to let Brady take the blame for your failing marriage. I finally spoke. I knew about Jason. I found out Saturday. Everyone looked at me. I had someone investigate when I heard Melissa on the phone telling Diana that we needed to have a frank conversation at Sunday dinner. I figured something was coming. I didn't know Charles was going to drop it like this, but yeah, I knew. Melissa stared at me. You knew? And you came here anyway? I wanted to hear what you were going to say, what you were going to accuse me of. Apparently, the plan was to make me look like the inadequate husband so you could justify leaving for someone better. That's exactly what it was. You've been building a case against me for months, telling your parents I'm a burden, making me look small so you could feel justified in what you were doing. Owen stood up. I think maybe we should all take a break. No, I said. I want to finish this. Melissa, I've spent 5 years trying to be a good husband to you. I supported your career. I listened to your parents' constant implications that I wasn't good enough. I stayed patient when you started being critical and distant. And the whole time you were cheating and planning an exit strategy that made me the villain. Brady, I'm sorry. I don't want your apology. I want you to understand that you don't get to rewrite this story. You don't get to make yourself the victim who was held back by her unambitious husband. You had an affair. You lied. You tried to manipulate your family against me. That's the truth. I stood up. Charles, Diana, I appreciate your hospitality over the years. I'm sorry it's ending this way. Owen, Jessica, good to see you. Melissa, I'll be filing for divorce this week. You can stay at the house until we figure out living arrangements, but I want you in the guest room. I walked out, got in my car, and drove home in silence, hands shaking on the wheel. Melissa came home 3 hours later. I was in the bedroom packing some of my things to move to the guest room. She stood in the doorway. Brady, we need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. Please just listen to me. The thing with Jason, it was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. I was confused and he paid attention to me and I made a terrible choice. How long? What? How long has it been going on? She looked at the floor. 3 months. 3 months. The same time you'd started being critical of me. I felt guilty. I think I was trying to justify what I was doing by making you seem inadequate. That's not an excuse, Melissa. That's just you being cruel. I know I was wrong, but can we try to work through this? Go to counseling? I'll end things with Jason. I'll do whatever it takes. No. Brady, please. You destroyed this marriage. You don't get to fix it now that you've been caught. You had 3 months to come clean, to stop, to work on us. You chose to keep lying and plan a public divorce announcement that would make me look like the failure. I panicked tonight. I wasn't really going to. Yes, you were. You told your mother you wanted to have a frank conversation about our future. You were setting the stage. The only thing that went wrong was your dad finding out about Jason and exposing you before you could control the narrative. She slumped against the doorframe. What happens now? I file for divorce. We split assets. You can stay here until the house sells, or one of us buys the other out. But we're done, Melissa. Completely done. Your parents know what you did. That's your problem to deal with, not mine. She left the room crying. I heard her on the phone a few minutes. Later, probably calling her mother. I didn't care. The next morning, I called a divorce attorney that Kevin had recommended, started the paperwork. Melissa moved into the guest room like I'd asked. We lived like awkward roommates for the next few weeks while lawyers handled the initial filings. The guys at the station could tell something was up. My partner Rodriguez asked if I was okay during a call to a cardiac emergency. I told him I was getting divorced. He nodded, didn't push for details. That's one thing I appreciate about this job. People respect your privacy. Melissa tried a few more times to reconcile. Wrote me letters, showed up at the station once, sent her friend to talk to me. I stayed firm. The friend, Karen, cornered me in the parking lot after my shift. Brady, she's devastated. She made a mistake, but she loves you. Karen, she didn't make a mistake. She made a series of deliberate choices over 3 months. And she tried to make me look like the bad guy in front of her entire family. That's not love. Charles called me, about a week after the dinner incident. Brady, I owe you an apology. You don't owe me anything, Charles. You exposed what needed to be exposed. I should have trusted my instincts about you from the beginning. You're a good man. I let Diana's opinions about your career cloud my judgment, and I let Melissa's complaints make me think you were the problem. Why did you investigate her? Something you said on Friday stuck with me. You asked if I thought you were a burden, the way you asked it, like you were genuinely confused about why anyone would think that. It made me realize I didn't have any actual evidence that you were inadequate, just Melissa's word. So I started looking into things, found the hotel charges pretty quickly. I appreciate you telling the truth at dinner. Melissa's getting some consequences at work too. Jason was fired outright. Apparently this wasn't his first offense. Melissa got written up and demoted. They're calling it restructuring, but everyone knows why. The divorce took 4 months to finalize. No kids, relatively clean asset split. Both of us wanting it done quickly. The house sold 3 months after we filed. Melissa moved back in with her parents temporarily. I got an apartment closer to the station, a 1-bedroom place with a view of downtown Columbus. Diana reached out once, about 6 weeks after the dinner incident. Asked if we could meet for coffee. I agreed, more out of curiosity than anything. She looked older than I remembered. Brady, I need to apologize to you. Okay. I spent years making you feel inadequate, implying you weren't good enough for Melissa, pushing her to want more, to expect more. I created the environment where she thought it was acceptable to look down on you. Did you know about Jason? No, absolutely not. If I had known she was cheating, I would have told her to fix her marriage or file for divorce honestly, but I didn't know, because I'd been too busy reinforcing her complaints about you without questioning if they were valid. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserved better from us, from all of us. You were a loyal husband to my daughter. You work hard, you save lives, you treated her well, and we made you feel like that wasn't enough because you weren't wealthy or impressive enough by our standards. Diana, I appreciate the apology, but I think you and Charles need to figure out why your daughter thought her worth was tied to her husband's income and status. That's not something I can fix. She nodded, tearing up. I know. We're in family therapy now, trying to understand where we went wrong. Good luck with that. It's been 8 months since that Sunday dinner. The divorce is final. I've settled into my apartment and I'm doing okay. Better than okay, actually. I picked up some extra shifts, started coaching youth CPR classes at the community center. Last month I helped train a group of high school students who want to become EMTs. Seeing their enthusiasm reminded me why I love this work. I bought a used motorcycle, a Honda that purrs like a cat. On my days off, I take rides through the countryside outside Columbus, sometimes all the way down to Hocking Hills. It clears my head. I learned a lot from this whole mess. I learned that when someone constantly makes you feel inadequate, it says more about them than about you. I learned that family loyalty can be toxic when it means enabling bad behavior. And I learned that sometimes the kindest thing someone can do is tell the truth when it needs to be told, even if it destroys the illusion everyone's been living in. Melissa made choices. She chose to have an affair, to lie, to try to make me the villain in her story. Her father chose to investigate and tell the truth. I chose to walk away with my dignity intact. I'm 35, divorced, and honestly more content than I've been in years. I don't have to prove my worth to anyone anymore. I know what I bring to the table. I save lives. That matters. And someday when I'm ready, I'll find someone who appreciates that without needing me to be someone I'm not. For now, I'm just Brady, paramedic, recently divorced guy who dodged a lifetime of being made to feel small. And that's enough. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Thanks for watching.